Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Motivator Show alongside Lady Chelsea. Hello, Lady Chelsea.
Hello.
Good morning to you. How are you feeling this fine, bright London morning? Huh?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, that's the way. Come on, say with some energy. Are you good?
I'm good.
Oh, I feel so alive, huh?
Yeah.
Give thanks for life, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, I feel so good this morning.
Yeah.
It's an exciting show coming up, yeah? Exciting show, you know? And around 8:45, we've got some really interesting guests. I'm not going to reveal they are this moment, but it's about us. Black community, African community, so-called ethnic minorities, making a difference, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the way forward. That's the only way forward. We've got to make a difference. But let's begin the show formally. First of all, let me give praise and thanks to Iron King, who of course has taken us from night to day, from what was a pleasant night to rather grey London morning, huh? But we're thankful to him, okay? We're thankful to him. Let's also give thanks, of course, to this station, Galaxy Radio, transmitted alongside a number of other platforms. But Galaxy Radio, the website, of course, is galaxyafewi.com. Yeah, digital radio. We're being transmitted via digital radio and, of course, on social media platform, both under the Motivator Show on Facebook and, of course, YouTube. If I can encourage you all, those who are watching us via YouTube, press a like, say you like it, or even subscribe so we can send you notifications of future shows so you know what's coming up. We'd love to have you subscribe to the show on YouTube. Thank you. Also, this station is very significant. Why? It's been around for more than 30 years. So I want to give recognition to the leader and founder of Galaxy Radio, Chief Bakombabai. I give praise and appreciation to you. Also give praise, of course, to Elder Eric Crote, who's not on the station currently, but whilst he was here, he provided historical correlations and understanding which was second to none, an inspirational elder. Of course, give praise to Dr. Man Ratata. I give praise to him and his wonderful wife, a dedicated husband and leader in the community. And of course, never forgetting her Empress, Shanice, solution finder, you know, always listen to the women, huh? Okay? Hey, solution finder, a determined African woman. I give praise to you, Sister Shanice. And of course, I want to recognize Nicole, the most royal, the longest serving pilot on the station, alongside, of course, the founder. I want to give praise to him. Give praise to Nicole, the most royal. And of course, I always remind people, Africa's wealth is not in the raw materials that comes out of the continent. It is the technology that derives from those raw materials, yeah? And so I want to give praise to the engineers, to the technologists who's changed the station from various platforms over the decades. So now we're able to transmit not only via digital radio through Galaxy FM, but also on, in this case, Facebook and YouTube. I give praise to the technologists, to the engineers who've kept this station functioning all that time. I praise to you all. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. That's the future. We must control not only the resources, but the technology that comes with those resources. Yeah? Well done, well done. And of course, Lady Chelsea, never forgetting to give honour and respect to our elders, those in the community whose sole interest is to promote our interest and to ensure that their legacy lives on into the next generation. I give praise to all the elders who are listening to this transmission right now and will listen to the future recordings of this transmission. I give praise and appreciation to all the elders. That is the African way. I say praise Jah, Rastafari to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's move on, of course, to a subject I love discussing.
Yeah.
Health.
Okay.
I just want to remind you to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why? Look, in our community, we have one of the highest instances of diabetes and hypertension. Okay? And these are fundamentally lifestyle diseases. They can be avoided. Simple steps. And I'm not an expert, so if you're in doubt, speak to an expert. Speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist, speak to your personal or trainers, yeah? Speak to them. But this is the advice I've been given and I want to share with you all.
Yeah.
I ask the listeners to consider the amount of sugar they're ingesting into their bodies, okay? Do you need the additional sugars in your teas and coffees? And indeed, do you really need to drink those so-called soft drinks, huh? Soft, but full of sugar. Full of sugar, you know? Put your sugar level right for the roof, yeah? And if you do that for not only 1 year, 2 years, 10 years or 20 years, it has an impact upon your bodies. Yeah? Diabetes, people. Diabetes. Yeah? Okay. I ask the listeners to consider the amount of salt you are ingesting. Salt is one of those components often are added to our food unnecessarily so, and are often found in these processed foods as well. I ask the listeners to consider the amount of salt you're ingesting. I know there's fish and chips, I watch people pour on all that salt, you know. And you've got to ask yourself, do you need all that salt, you know? Consider the long-term implications of adding additional salt to your diet, not over 1 year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, but over your lifetime, the cumulative impact it has on your body. Yeah, hypertension comes to mind. I say to people, am I right, Lady Chelsea?
Yeah.
There you go, you know. Another factor to consider, okay? I also ask people to consider the amount of fat they're ingesting. I gave the example last week of buying these T-bone steaks or those lamb chops. And you see all those white streaks in it? Or those large chunks of the so-called chops, which are all white?
Yeah.
That's fat.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah? Consider if you're frying chips, you're putting your chips in fat. Yeah, yeah, it's true, huh? It's
Yeah.
true. The question is, do you need all that fat in your diet? Yeah. What is the cumulative impact? It collects around your organs, yeah? And of course, it blocks up your arteries. And what happens? You get heart conditions. Yeah. Consider, do you need all that fat? And lastly, of course, I ask people to think about the carbohydrates, you know, those wheat products, those things which are usually white flour, you know. And what it is, our bodies convert that carbohydrates into sugars. And that sugar then is stored and bowls your bodies, you know. So, you know, you're walking around carrying all that weight because it's accumulated carbohydrate in your bodies, you know. Yeah. Admittedly, some people have hormonal issues, which is the cause of their slightly heavier weight, but often it is lifestyle with the majority of people. Yeah. It is lifestyle. So I ask you to consider the amount of carbohydrates you're ingesting. But also consider, of course, the amount of water you are consuming each day. I'm told by the experts you need at least 2 to 3 litres of water per day. If you're unsure, speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist, speak to that person who you trust to provide health advice to you. But I need my water. I ensure that I consume the right amount of water each day. And of course, all the nutritionists, the doctor would tell you and encourage more fruit and vegetables and keep meat to no more than 5 or 10% of your diet. In that way, you're able to contain and control the amount of cholesterol you're taking into your body. In fact, your body's able to better cope with those other features such as sugar, fat, if you increase the amount of fruits and vegetables. Never forgetting, all importantly, it's important to exercise each day. Exercise is mission critical. You've got to exercise. I try to do my exercises most mornings, afternoons and evenings, because it's just common sense, really. Oh look, I've got it here for you, Lady Chelsea. This is quite heavy, mind you.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, there you go. I've tried to do it, but
Yeah.
it's quite tiring. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But that's the way ahead, you know. I'm racing my heart, you know. I'm encouraging my body to sweat. And my body wants to do that. Yeah? Our bodies want to do that because, believe it or not, our bodies think of us are really back in the sort of time in which we didn't have all these modern equipment. That's our bodies. Our minds have moved forward, but our bodies have yet to catch up. It may be a good few hundred, maybe thousands years behind our minds, you know. That's the difference, you know. And therefore, you've got to treat your body as if you were living in the 300-400 years ago, which would not have included all these excessive sugars and salts and fats that we consume now, and most certainly would have requires us to be physically fit just to survive. Okay, it is mission critical that we get this right. Yeah, it is mission critical. So I hope that advice is useful. But if in doubt, I say to people, speak to your doctor, speak to your nutritionist, speak to those individuals who are suitably qualified to give that advice and might be familiar with your medical records, okay? If they're not familiar with your medical records, they're giving advice, you should be cautious. Go to your doctor. He or she are best placed to give you the advice because the advice given to you will be based upon your medical or clinical history. That's the way to do it. YouTube, Facebook, wonderful places, wonderful information resources, but when it comes to you personally, you go to the person who knows you, understand you from a clinical perspective, and is best placed to give you advice. That applies to all the other managers that are going around us at the moment. Seek out the professional advice. The person who knows you best. There you are. I think that's enough now, Lady Chelsea, is that right?
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
I think I've said enough on that one. But I hope the messages continue to be communicated suitably. I can tell by the responses I've received to date that they are being heard. And we are encouraging people to think about their health and their role in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And of course, the important part of all of what I've just said is, of course, you promote healthy mental and psychological health, spiritual health. So critically important that you allow yourself that time in which all the cares of the world are no longer a factor, that you are able just to be yourself without all those cares. Meditation, settling yourself is so vitally important. And if you are unsure about your mental health, seek out professional advice. Not YouTube. Don't go to Facebook. Go to your GP. Yeah, yeah, or the specialist that you're connected with. Yeah, he or she is best placed to help you. I've now finished that. Can I move on now, Lady Chelsea?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now, wasn't last week's show inspirational? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, Sister Joan was a quite exceptional teacher. Yeah.
yeah, it's done a lot.
Now she most certainly has, and of course the launch of her book, How to Pass the 11 Plus, will be formally launched next Saturday, I understand. Unfortunately, she hasn't yet shared with me the details. In fact, now I'm thinking about it. I'm just going to make sure she hasn't sent it through to me. I've not seen it yet, and I'm hoping that she will send it to us shortly. But she has told me that if those who want to attend her book launch, and I know that there are quite a few based upon the feedback I've had who want to attend her book launch, please go to her website, which is www. In other words, 3 W's, tuition.co.uk. I repeat the URL, it's www. In other words, 3 W's, brighter tuition.co.uk. Right, and unfortunately she's not been able to get that information to me at this time. I understand the book launch will be both in person and online by using Zoom, and I've not yet been given the Zoom details, so I'm not able to share it with you today, but it's definitely going forward next Saturday at 5 p.m. All right, so I say to Sister Joan, well done. I want to encourage other teachers who might be listening to this broadcast. If you produce materials designed to help young people in the community, we want to hear from you, and we'd be more than happy to give promotion to your educational materials. It's such a vital piece of work that you are performing on behalf of the community. And I want to also give praise to Brother Nia of NABS, which of course stands for the National Association of Black Saturday Schools. I want to give a big shout out to him, because the work he's been engaged in for all of these decades is vital. Coordinating Saturday schools, giving recognition to them, so it's a one-stop notice board for where your local Saturday schools could be found. So not just in London, but nationwide. And indeed, if you go to the NABS website and you are not able to find your local Saturday school, please inform NABS that that is the case, so that they're able to include the Saturday school on their website. Okay, and I suppose you're going to ask me, what is the website address? And I might have to sort of dig it out for you again, unless you've got it there handy, Lady Charles.
No.
The
Sorry.
to the National Association of Black Saturday Schools website, and I think it will be great if you could go to their website and gather their details. But I'll give it that moment's time. But I just want to give a recognition. I found that show last week to be really, really very helpful. In fact, I've just been handed the NABS website, the National Association of Black Saturday Schools, which is www.nabs.org.uk. I say it again, www.nabs or nabs.org.uk. So if you're seeking out a Saturday school, a supplementary school for your sons and daughters, go to that website. It should have a listing of your local Saturday school, And indeed, if you run a Saturday school, and I know this time you're prepared to go to one, but if you run a Saturday school and you're not currently quoted on the NAB's website, contact them. You can make direct contact with. There's a contact page. Contact them, and I know he would Brother Near would love to include you on the website because it's a resource, of course, and of course. I'm told, and you recall what Nia said last week, there's some schools that may have changed their telephone number or addresses. Again, I would encourage those who manage such schools to check the NAB's website just to make sure that the details quoted on the NAB's website is actually the current details. Okay? So, vitally important we get that right. I believe it's such an important organisation, and we want to help that organisation to continue to develop. And of course, there were a number of interesting outcomes to last week's show, which I will not report on this week, but most certainly I will report on next week.
Okay.
But nevertheless, it was vitally important. I want to give real praise to Brother Dear for his stalwart, his determination on behalf of the community.
Yeah,
I want to say thank you very much for your work, Brother Dear, on behalf of the community. Thank you so much. You exemplify the best of us. Thank you. Lady Chelsea, I'm going to hand over to you now for the children's section. And our young son, Malachi, a wonderful book that we want to continue to promote every week, which is available for sale via Amazon and other educational platforms. Over to you, Lady Chelsea. Over to you.
Okay. So this is the section where we celebrate and promote the book that young Malachi wrote, which was called Tutankhamun, The Tale of the Adventurous Boy King. And, he's an example of a child that's been homeschooled by his mother. And, every week we praise Sister Sekhmet.
Can I just say another quick praise for her?
Yeah.
I give praise to her. Homeschooled, this young man is, and he's writing his first book at age 14.
Yeah.
Absolute dedication by that wonderful mother. I give praise to you, Sister Segment. I give praise to you. There you are. I just want to say that,
That's fine. That's okay. So as usual, we're running a competition, and the prize was the book that he's written and £25. So it's 2 questions as normal, one for under 10s and one for 11 to 16-year-olds. So I'll read out the number first, just so everyone is prepared, and then I'll do the question. So the number is 020 348 152 40. Then you'll be asked to put in a PIN, which is 370 733 4397, and that's followed by the hash key sign.
Let me just say it again. That's the vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad. That's what I told you,
That's fine. Best to be clear, it's fine. Okay. The first question is for the children under 10. So I'll just get that. That's cool.
Question 1. How do you spell Tutankhamun?
So that's, how do you spell Tutankhamun?
Yeah.
Then the second question I have is for children 11 to 16-year-olds.
Question 9. Who or what did the people of Kemet worship during the time of Tutankhamun?
So that's, who or what did the people of Kemet worship at the time of Tutankhamun? And those are questions for this week.
Well, as I said before about these questions, we need to talk to him.
Yeah.
I've got to say that we want to keep promoting young Malachi's book. It is available on Amazon, and it's also available on the educational network. You may recall we had the owner and founder on the show. It's also available via the Education Network .co.uk website as well. I believe it's only I think £14, something like that. But it's a well written book. It's written by one of our sons, and I've got to say we should encourage boys to read and write more often. I'm told, I've always thought it was a fallacy, that boys prefer to do other things than reading and writing. I've always thought that's complete nonsense. He's young Malachi is testament that our sons are as thirsty for knowledge, and indeed are as capable to read and write as anyone else. And all the statistics suggest that is so anyway.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah. So if you're a young person, if you're a parent, and you with sons or daughters, nieces and nephews, or cousins, young cousins, who are able to respond to those questions, I would wish to encourage you to call in. And the number to call, I'll just give it out again if you don't mind, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah,
it's 0203 481 5240. You ask to enter a PIN number 37 33 43 97, followed by the ash sign, which of course, and I'd like to remind you, it's a vertical and horizontal symbol on your keypad. There you are. Good to get another young person getting these questions right. The prize is, of course, £25 if you get it right, and of course a copy of the book. Okay, so I know it's a struggle. I know those questions are challenging, and that's even more reasons why these Saturday schools, supplementary schools, exist. Because not only are they teaching purely academic subjects, they're also teaching culture, traditions, our heritage. And of course, any person without deep roots, in other words, without a history, is like a tree with very shallow roots, can be easily knocked down. And that is not healthy. What I mean by that, you have psychological problems. You have confidence problems. You have problems expressing yourself, or asserting yourself, or seeing yourself as equal amongst others, And I sense that often amongst our communities in terms of the confidence we have, even as adults. And this is part of the reason you of course would appreciate, Lady Chelsea, for the programme today. Our role as a community in both what happens in our neighbourhoods, our communities, indeed in this society. Okay, and we have a duty, I believe, as community representatives, members of the community, as taxpayers. We pay in this country council tax, income tax. We as a community pay billions of pounds into the government in order to provide public services, okay, for our children, schools, nurseries, leisure facilities, play facilities, So it's incumbent upon us, those of the right age, to understand what's happening in the community and to be involved, and not let other people simply take decisions on our behalf. Did you know, Lady Chelsea, in some quarters I hear that our community are hard to reach?
I have heard that, yeah.
Oh my gosh! Hard to reach! Here we are, where we are, we're based in London, of course, in the London Borough of Southwark. And according to the latest census, we are approximately 30% of the population. That was the last census, okay? Now, I'm aware the current census is yet to be, the final figures are yet to be revealed, but I'm told that percentage has increased to closer to 48% of the so-called BAME, this wonderful curious acronym, which supposedly means Black, Asian, ethnic minorities,
Yeah.
You know? Now, we fall into that category, and we're nearly half the population here in Southwark. So it's kind of incumbent upon us, really, to understand what are the issues affecting our immediate locality, this neighbourhood that we're in. And of course, part of the reason for me doing these shows, apart from the fact it was locked down and I was kind of wondering what I should do myself,
Yeah.
is of course this important communication, particularly between elected officials and the community that they represent. Okay. Now, of course, as an elected official, it's vitally important that I have a clear understanding what are the needs of the community, what are the issues important to them, okay? How we respond to community needs, our performance is judged by, and of course, as I'm reminded by an elder who's called in there so often, Elder Norma, who actually lives in my ward. I'm so privileged to have someone with a clear memory of Britain in 1940s. Can you imagine? She's here in the 1940s. She's seen Britain in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 20s, till today. She has a clear memory and seen the evolution of British society. And indeed, she's seen the evolution of Southwark, this borough that we're in, and this immediate community of Walworth that we're currently located in. She's seen the evolution. She's seen the changes, So we have a vested interest to understand what the local council is doing on her behalf. Yeah? Is that right?
Yeah.
It seems highly foolish not to take an interest if we are major contributors financially to the coffers of this local council.
Yeah.
Nearly half the population. We have an interest, Can you imagine this was a company and you own half of from Tesla, for example, multi-billion pound company. Wow!
Yeah.
As half owner, you'd think that your word should have some weight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely.
You're nearly half owner.
Yeah.
Local government, local communities are no different. Where you're nearly half the community, your voice makes a difference.
Yeah.
There you are. But as I mentioned earlier about that confidence, confidence levels, and what I note, and our guest will log in shortly, what I note is that we're not as actively involved in expressing our views about council policies or initiatives that might happen locally as we should. We do tend to be underrepresented in those key decision-making processes. That has got to change, hasn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. And I suspect that if young Malachi, this young author, at 14 years old, here now,
14, yeah.
I suspect he would say, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want to see my mums and dads, my uncles and aunties, my cousins, involved in the decision-making processes, or influencing, He'll say, I don't want to be alone by myself, I want to know that my parents and that generation are an integral part of the wider Southwark community and are actively involved.
Yeah.
In fact, if I'm wrong, I'd invite young people to call in today. And let's tackle that. But of course, one of the reasons for today's show is really to encourage people to think about what's happening in their immediate localities, particularly if you live in Southwark, or indeed if you live in the Walworth area of Southwark, this part of Southwark, We want to hear from you this morning, We want to hear from you live today, We want to make sure that your voice is heard, because your voice matters. How about that, Lady Chelsea? Huh?
Yeah, no, it's important.
There you go. Yeah, I think that that's really important. And for maybe, because of course, one of the reasons why I love doing this program with yourself, Lady Chelsea, is that we are of different generations. Okay,
Mhm.
so I've got a very clear view in terms of my own generation and what we need to do, etc. I know you may have a view. What, from a young person's point of view, what's from a younger perspective? Give us a perspective from your point of view.
Um, for me, I don't know if this is kind of new for me. It's not something that I've kind of thought or seen ways of being involved
Hmm.
in. I don't know if like feedback forms and stuff like what we'll talk about later, I've been given them. I may have ignored them. I'm not sure. But I don't recall, and I know that I haven't made an effort for them out or whatever. And I don't know if there's been much. I don't know if it's marketing or whatever towards younger people. So I don't know if it's you don't already have someone in your life who's like a counsellor or someone who's interested in the community, already doing things in the community, if you know or have an interest in having a voice. So
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing for me to be here and like other people to kind of see and get involved, because as you said, it affects us and our communities and where we live, so it makes sense. So if we're putting money towards it to
yeah,
share and shape our where we live.
absolutely, absolutely. Do you mind if I ask you this question?
Okay.
Okay. If you had received a survey form from the council,
Mhm.
would you fill it in?
I would now.
You would now, but previously
Yeah.
you hadn't. I'm just interested, and this is really important because it's maybe reflective of quite. Why would you not have filled a survey form in previously, a consultation form in previously?
Um, think lack of interest, to be honest, and I think it would have seemed to me time consuming. I would have put it there and thought I will do it, and then obviously there's a date that has to be done. I would have thought, oh, I haven't done that, and then it just wouldn't have been done. I think
Yes.
posting it to me seems long.
But
So
what about the potential that completing a consultation form might impact the decision that a local authority makes?
Good morning.
um
Good morning. I see we've got our guest here. Okay, ladies, Chelsea,
that's
I'll
fine.
get off your case now. I'll get off your case.
Great.
Oh, good morning, Clement. And I believe we've also got Councillor Rose somewhere. This technology of ours works well at times. Is
Morning,
Councillor
Martin.
Rose here?
I am indeed, Martin. Good
Oh,
morning.
good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to you both. Welcome to you both. Well, my co-presenter, Lady Chelsea, and I were just debating the community's role in terms of the responsibility to get involved in what's happening in our immediate neighbourhood. I just asked the question around these council-inspired surveys and consultations, which she completed. The last question, she said, got out of that one, so I won't ask the final question. Okay. But the important point is that if one receives a survey form, are you motivated to complete it because you want to influence? Okay, and that's the point of this show. Because I want to keep reminding the audience, those who are listening live and those who observe the replays, that your voice does make a difference. There's nearly half the population in Southwark, okay? Your voice does make a difference. Your viewpoint does make a difference. How can I emphasize that sufficiently? How can I emphasize? Okay. Councillor Rose, I know you. And of course, Clements, I know you both quite well, but I'm not going to reveal my knowledge of you. I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourself. I'll start with Councillor Rose, then I'll go over to you, Clement. Councillor Rose, just introduce you. Please just say who you are and what your role is as a councillor here in the London Borough of Southwark.
Good morning, Martin. I am indeed Councillor Catherine Rose, and I am directly elected to represent the community at the very south of the borough. If you look at a map of Southwark, my ward is called Dulwich Wood, and it's the very tip of the borough that meets at Crystal Palace, if you like, and has a boundary with Lambeth, Croydon, Bromley, and Lewisham. It's a dynamic and varied area. We have the Kingswood Estate, we have Sydenham Hill Estate, we have the Lordship Lane Estate, all within my large area. But we are blessed and enriched by lots of green open space as well, and we also have a beautiful setting, but often can feel quite removed from the rest of London in terms of transport links and being able to connect easily with public transport at times. I have another role within the council. I am the cabinet member for Transport, Parks and Sport.
Wow.
So
that sounds very important, huh?
well, it is right now, and I'm here to talk to you about the transport aspect, but we might touch on some of the other areas in terms of open spaces, parks and active travel, and the importance of that in terms of overall well-being and the healthiness of our communities, not least our children as they grow up in this part of the world. And yes, so I've been responsible for transport for almost a year now, and like many other London boroughs, many in the London communities, they've seen changes in response to the pandemic, and they've been concerned and alarmed by recent weather and news coverage and information that you're receiving from within the UK and from around the world about extreme weather, the impact of climate change, and what we can do here in the United Kingdom in response to the climate emergency. So I'll leave it there for now, but that's broadly me. I am older than I care to admit. I have a son. He's at school at a local school in East Dulwich, and he's about to go into year 11 and do his GCSEs.
Oh.
And I know that one of your guests spoke about their own children within their family. Yes. And I found when I go to speak to children in schools, and Clement might expand on this later, when you talk to them about travelling to school and what's important to them, they're incredibly clear about the priorities. They're incredibly clear about their sense of social justice, about and they care passionately about the world that they're about to inherit. So I think that's really interesting. And of course, none of them own cars, no. But they have legs, and they like to ride a bike, and they like to scoot, and they like to walk to school safely, and have that important time with whoever's lucky enough to be able to take them to school that day. So yes, there's lots of angles in relation to my interest and my passion for it. So I'll leave it there, and
thank you. I'm going to come back to you. Thank you, Councillor Rose. And if I could go to Clement from Pong. Okay. Can you say introduce yourself and just tell us the role you play inside the council, your role in the council.
Good morning, Martin. My name is Clement J. Frimpong. I've been working with the council for over 10 years. And my role really in the council, I'm a principal project manager. And the aim of my job is to make sure that I engage with the community and design and come up with a scheme that meet the aspirations and the need and the expectation of the community. So I could say I'm the bridge between the community and Councillor Rose. So I've got to make sure that I'm listening to the community, getting their feedback, and then giving the needed technical advice as to what is feasible, what is not feasible. And the total outcome will be something that will be acceptable to the community, and Councillor Rose can put her stamp on it and approve it. So my role is more like a bridge. And we are implementing a number of these street space measures. And really, the most important thing for me is to listen to what people have to say, and then make sure that I take on board and then adjust and advise where technical advice is needed.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. You both hold important positions because your roles are very much public facing. And you get it wrong, the public knows about it, huh? Okay. I'm going to do the first question, and I'm then going to hand over to my co-presenter, who I know will have a few questions for you. But I'll just ask the first question, if I may, Councillor Rose. Can you just tell us, what is the Walworth Review? What is that? What does that mean in common parlance, as it were? What does that mean?
Well, the Walworth Review is the community's chance to tell us what they think about what we've done to their streets. They can tell us their hopes and aspirations for making their roads and streets safer, hopefully quieter, and cleaner. And it's an 8-week opportunity for you to tell us directly your views and opinions on the changes that have been in place for almost a year now, and for your community to help us to shape and form the future vision for Walworth. So the community live broadly either side of Walworth Road, a key arterial route, a dynamic high street, which brings sort of richness and diversity, but also its own challenges in terms of the amount of traffic that comes along it, and that has an impact on the communities that live either side of it. It's also important because the vast majority of people in the Walworth area don't own a car or have very limited access to a car, and yet they're impacted by a large volume of vehicles every single day. So very succinctly, it's that direct opportunity to put forward your views and experiences. How have you found living in Walworth, and how you manage and navigate traffic on foot, or the impact it's having on bus journeys, or the impact it's having on all members of your family in terms of how they get around and how they make their life work. So I'll leave it there for now, but broadly it's your chance.
Understood. And of course, this review, this process is not unique, of course, to Walworth or indeed Southwark, but it's occurring right across London. That's right.
Yeah, exactly right, Martin. We have 11 low traffic neighbourhoods, if you like, or street space schemes across the borough, from the north, close to the river, and Bermondsey and Blackfriars and Union Street, through Walworth, one of the largest ones in Walworth. We have then some that we're delivering in partnership with Guy's and St Thomas's Trust Foundation in terms of health outcomes as well. And then we have measures that we put in place to make Rye Lane safe throughout the pandemic. And then finally, a large area in the south of the borough, in Dulwich, that takes the street space scheme all the way down to the South Circular. So it's the length and breadth of the borough, and Walworth is a key scheme amongst those 11 schemes, and it's really important that we listen, and that we look at what's happening in Walworth and how we can improve things. And the government have been quite clear with us. The government and TfL have been absolutely clear about the necessity and need to change, to move the dial, to have a step change in how we think about travel and transport, and we meet the challenges that London face in particular. So yes, you're not unique, but in the sense of it's happening elsewhere within the borough and across London, and there is national political will to get more people to actively travel and to make that shift out of cars, or to reduce their dependency on cars, and to use other zero emission ways of traveling, and the safest, most obvious way is to walk, and then to cycle. Most journeys are local, and most journeys take less than 20 minutes by foot, but often we depend and rely on the convenience of a car. And we need to make sure that we put in place the infrastructure and the incentives and all the tools that you need as a resident in Walworth to make that change and to use your car less. And that's the challenge.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to now my colleague, Lady Chelsea. You have a question.
Okay. Hi, good morning. It's nice to have you both on the show. This could be directed to Rose. I just want to know, as a young person myself, not from Walworth, but I just want to know what the review showed about the impacts it had on young people.
Well, there's in terms of, so far we've seen a net increase in the number of cyclists and cycling. In Walworth, it's characterised by a lot of deliveries, and that could be anything from your Deliveroo and your Uber Eats, and that accessibility of what young people sort of are highly dependent on at times, but also children travelling to school. The active travel piece in relation to young people getting to school each day and getting back safely has been a tangible outcome, and lots of schools are telling us directly about their needs to invest in scooter storage and bike storage within their school grounds, and that there's a willingness for pupils to understand road safety, and we're re-engaging with a whole program of road safety training for young people. Older children, there's a specific school survey for older children that they can participate, which we're doing and delivering with our local schools. And that really builds on that sort of established work that the education department are doing. But young people are really concerned about climate change, and they're concerned about social justice, they're concerned about the impact that this generation or adult generation is having on the one below it, and they want also to ensure that they're a healthy generation with the same level of opportunities and chances that that others have, and health inequalities is a key part of that. But young people are also being inspired by their peer groups. So we're blessed in Southwark to have a long legacy of sporting success. And I don't know, Chelsea, if you're aware, but Kai White, who won the silver medal in BMX track in the Olympics, you know, is a local Peckham boy, not far from the Walworth Road, trained on that elite level track that we put in Burgess Park. And so there's a connection and relativity about aspiration. Also running, we've got an Olympic medalist part of the relay team, and we've got an historic legacy of the Herne Hill Velodrome, which is sort of close to with our own borough. So that legacy is there, but it's about participation. So a lot of young people from across the community have been also inspired by young footballers and the England squad in particular this year. And so really it's about seeing active travel as part of that same piece about how actually you know, being able to ride a bike safely, thinking about walking is an integral part of your health and well-being, and the air that you breathe, so that there's clear medical evidence around the impact of sustained exposure to air particles, especially outside schools. So we want to ensure that young people, as their brains and lungs develop, are able to walk safely to school in an environment that has really good air quality. But that too many of our schools still have an air quality that isn't as clean as it needs to be. And that's part of the challenge that the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, is helping us to realise, and something that's fairly fundamental. So the only way we're going to do that is to reduce the amount of emitting vehicles that are on our roads. And that helps sort of cool the planet as well. So vehicle emissions make up a sizable percentage. There are other things as well, such as heating systems, but it's that thing that we can do most directly. And so if young people who aren't able yet to vote because they haven't reached the age of 18 and that sort of maturity in that sense, but they can participate in this, which is one of the most direct forms of democracy that we've got. So it might take years before the impact of the census comes through to you or them. It might take years for the impact of a change of government to come through to you or them, but it will take a matter of months for the impact of this survey to change and what's outside their front doors. So I think that's quite powerful, and I think you express it like that. I think it's, and that's the timescale that young people relate to. You know, 2 or 3 years is a long time in a young person's life, but you know, by the summer is something that you can all relate to. You know, or by the end of the year, that's something that's immediate and like exciting potentially for young people. And there isn't enough of that in politics, is there? Is the other point.
No, it's both. It's nearer. I can be more excited about it. So
exactly. Okay. Sometimes expensive things take a bit longer, but you know,
that makes sense.
Understanding what the priority is and what people want us to do and how we can get there. You know, this has you know, we can respond more quickly to something like this than those other things.
That makes sense. Because I'm not sure, how would so a young person fill out this? Is it sent via email? Is it just post? Is it
so if they've got a smartphone, they can do it online, and there's you know, through the website, there's southwark.gov.uk/OH Walworth Review, or O Walworth as I like to call it, or if they Google Walworth Review, or and they'll find it. But hopefully if they go to a local school, they'll get contacted and they'll have access to the survey either someone from Clement's team will go down and talk to them and do a hands-up survey, or their teachers can provide them with a physical paper copy, or they can do the link through the laptop or tablet at school.
No, that's helpful.
That's my dog, I'm afraid. He usually goes for a walk at this time in the morning.
Oh, it's okay. It's fine.
It's all right. Sorry.
It's all right. Listen, I just want to know, on feedback forms, do you record the ethnic minorities?
We do. We think it's important to know who's responding and replying back, and we think it's also important to know that whatever results we do get are truly reflective of the community that lives there. It's important because it will also allow us to contact people for direct follow-up. So one of the things we've done in other review areas, such as Dulwich, is actually identify people that have let us know already that they identify as disabled, or that they identify as coming from an ethnic minority or a certain community, and we're very keen to hear. So you might get invited in to meet Jonathan, who leads on consultation, and in a very sort of safe, anonymised setting, you'll be able to talk more freely and in more depth about the issues and how it impacts you. So often people prefer that, but we're also doing a very specific amount of targeted stalls. So on the 28th of August, a week today, you'll be able to walk down Walworth Road between 11 and 2 p.m. and see a pop-up stall and stand, which will be manned, and you can ask and speak to people directly about it. You can pick up a copy of the survey if you prefer to do that, or you can attend an online meeting. There's one this afternoon actually at 2 p.m. and again, if you go through to the website, you can find the link to that. And there's also one on September the 1st at 6 p.m. in the evening. So all that information is on the website, but we're trying to create as many different ways for young people in particular, and people that we don't usually hear from, feel that they can come forward and talk to people, and it's not an inconvenience to do that, and that what they say is recorded and included, but any information is anonymized, so no one can be identified directly, but it's really important that we get responses that do reflect the people that live and work in Walworth. So
Kevin, that's really very helpful. Lots of detail there. And the final summary of what I think you're saying is that local voices matter. Yeah, local opinions matter. Okay, I think that's really important. And that's regardless of your ethnicity, your religious affiliation, sexuality, or any other aspect of yourself, your voice matters. Yeah, I think that's, I'm going to emphasize that with some gusto. If I may just ask Clement, of course. Clement has to be the intermediary between us. And you and I, Kevin, of course, will have great sympathy and appreciation, first of all, of the professionalism of the officer groups, but also some sympathy that they have to implement our policies, of course. And I wonder, if I may ask Clement this question, what are the logistical challenges, first of all, of implementing some of the proposed changes which are now being reviewed, and one of those which always comes up, as you know, and will come up, I'm sure, when we open the lines, and that's of course these, what I will term as being reprioritisation of local roads. Other people might say we can't drive through it anymore. Okay, what is the logistical issues involved in one, closing the road, and two, ensuring that it is accessible by emergency services, cyclists, pedestrians, and so on? What are the issues that you have to take into account prior to implementing such a policy?
I think two main things. One is that everything we do have to be driven by data. Yeah. Data is absolutely important. Without data, we can't make any decision. And also the views of local people is very, very important as well, what local people want. So they are the two factors that drive policies and decision. Now, when it comes to data, there's a lot we are doing to make sure that we can evidence whatever decision that we are making. So, for example, we are collecting a lot of traffic data. We are collecting air pollution data. We are also assessing the impact it's having on bus journey times. We are also counting cyclists. There's a lot we are doing to really get every data we need that will inform decision making. We do have a lot of meetings with the emergency services to ensure that we're engaging with them to address their concerns. And as part of the outcome of this meeting, we've made some changes to the measures. For example, where we've got physical barrier, we had to change them to cameras to allow access for emergency services. When it comes to engaging with the community, we are really in a listening mode. You may recall there's a closure we put on Browning Street. And because we were in constant engagement with the community, they told us certain things were not working, and we adapted and changed. So coming back to the challenges, I think the challenge is getting to understand what is working well, what is not working well, listening to the community, getting the data, analyzing the data, and making the needed amendment so that whatever changes we make is informed and not just ad hoc.
And if I may, just to be clear, and just pick up on 2 points you've made, and just to avoid misunderstanding outside, prior to reprioritising a road, your office would consult with the emergency services to ensure that the reprioritisation doesn't affect their attendance time, ambulance or fire brigade, for example. That would be the initial step. Am I right?
Correct. So we have ongoing meetings with them. So these schemes have been introduced on an experimental basis. So it's a try and error. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the most important thing, there is this ongoing dialogue with them to make sure that we're getting feedback, listening, amending, and making changes. So that is still ongoing. We do have regular meetings with the emergency services.
And just to be clear, and again, I'm anticipating a call or two, you see, and I want to make sure we get these questions answered out the way quickly. The roads which might be closed are essentially side roads that are owned by the council, in other words, controlled by the council, and are typically being used as a commuter bypass road to avoid the main road. Would that be right in that assumption? Would that be right?
Correct. So just to give you a bit of evidence, so just before we implemented this scheme, we were able to do what we call origin destination survey, which is to track vehicles coming from Old Kent Road corridor. And what we noticed is that a lot of them were cutting through the local streets in the Walworth area to get to Kennington. And there was a particular road that we saw that the traffic was increasingly very high. So that will be the basis for doing that. So we've got to evidence that with the data. If the data shows that traffic on this particular road is comparatively high, you know, if you compare to other roads in the borough, and there's a lot of cyclists there, school children there, then in that case, we will prioritize the space for those who are actively traveling.
Right. And just for clarification for those who are listening, so of course the Old Kent Road is a major road that leads into central London. It's not owned by Southwark, but it's a major arterial road, and the roads that you're referring to that would be prioritised are essentially local roads which are managed by the local authority. And of course, it's only those roads that we could, of course, interfere with. So that's understood. And of course, you mentioned pollution levels, and Catherine mentioned the greening of roads. Okay, just tell us a bit more about that in terms of the stages. So, what impact does a closing of road have on the road itself, both in terms of accessibility and air pollution, which is a biggie for London, of course?
Definitely. So we know that the major contributing to poor air quality is traffic. And what we've noticed is that when a road is closed, the traffic volume goes down significantly. Now, as part of what we're doing, we are doing air quality modeling. So air quality modeling is to ensure that we are assessing the impact of the traffic changes on air quality. Now, that report will be shared with the community. We've appointed an independent organization to do that. So what we have noticed is that whenever we do these road closures, there is a net reduction. So not just on the local street, but in the wider area, there's a net reduction. People tend to reroute their traffic or make changes in terms of the way they travel. And that net reduction has a resultant benefit on air quality. So the benefit is not just local, the benefit is in the wider area.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. It's an important observation. And if I may just go to Councillor Rose, Catherine, to just come back to yourself. These changes are not intended, I'm assuming, to hurt those who need to travel in a car in London, or those on moderate or middle incomes. It's not intended to hurt them in any way, is it?
No, everyone is able to access the street that they live on, and get to and from their own home. Some of the routes have changed, but that is to combat the overall level of through traffic. So we've learned from implementation in earlier stages. So one of the key things we've learned is that anyone who holds a blue badge in terms of mobility or accessibility has an exemption. We have their information on our system, and they're able to travel through any timed restrictions freely throughout the LTN in Walworth. And it's really important that we continue to listen to people with mobility and accessibility issues, because you're quite right, it is in no way punitive to them or seen as restricting them. What we're hoping is the overall reduction in traffic makes that not only their own road but other surrounding roads are more accessible overall, and that often you might feel encouraged to sort of use your own car less, but when you do need it to use it, and there are lots of really valid important reasons why you will, in terms of your own accessible mobility or caring for a relative that also lives in the area, we want to make sure that we enable all of those things. So we're trying to work with ensuring that when we put measures in to enforce, such as cameras that people have seen, that we do it in a measured way, that we communicate properly and we consult properly, and that we give people time to adjust. So we have a process where you'll be notified and consulted on at any point where a camera is introduced to help us control the level of traffic. And you will be, for the first number of weeks as that camera is in place, you'll receive a letter if you've driven through it at a time at which it was restricted, or you've gone down a road where there's no through route.
Right, yes.
So, but we're learning all the time around that, and we've learned from experience. So we responded to the introduction of the Manor Place gate, Manor Place camera gate there, and we responded to the concerns of residents and the issues we had around receiving the letters around Christmas time. So we capped that. But what we did find is that the vast majority of people that receive penalty charge notices are literally driving through the area, and that when we do detailed sampling of where penalty charge notices are sent, something like over 80%, and as high as 85% of all of those penalty charges go to people that don't live in the borough, and a lot of people are repeat recipients of fines because they are commercial vehicles.
Very good. I'm going to ask a question then, in that case, and just to make it quite clear to the audience that in fact monies that fines which you receive, does that go into the general coffers of Southwark Council? What happens to that money? Just so we're clear.
So anything that is administered by the Met Police in relation to speeding, so not all cameras are the councils.
Indeed.
that goes into a central government pot, but the local enforcement cameras that we manage and put in place and work with, that goes into highways. It has to be reinvested into our infrastructure and highway spend. And that's really welcome, because when we want to do other things from our own central funding, that involves us making choices. So we want to make sure that it's reinvested locally to support the road infrastructure network in and around Walworth, and it can help fund some of the greening, some of the improvements, and some of that long-term investment for transport overall in the borough.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Rose. That was very well said. I'm going to open the telephone lines, and I know the people of Walworth are wonderful people, I might add. That's for the record, okay? I'm going to remind the audience what the telephone number is, and those who are viewing this via YouTube or Facebook, you'll see it on the screen, but the number to dial is as follows: 0203 481 5240, and of course you enter a PIN number. It's a bit long, but it's okay. It's 370 733 4397, and followed by the # sign. I like to say, Catherine, it's a vertical and horizontal line that old is now become familiar with on your keypad. Okay, there you are. Anyway, let's go over. We welcome calls, and I welcome constructive, engaging calls that we can answer your questions, so we can clarify any misunderstanding that might have arisen over the time. Now, I believe we may well have a caller on the line already. 9972. Good morning to you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's me, Norma Lawrence.
Oh, good morning, Norma. Here we refer to Norma as Elder Norma, as it's a tradition in our community. Good morning to you, Norma. How are you? How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Thank you.
You are right off the mark. You know, I made reference to you and your clear memory of what Southwark was like going back to the 40s and 50s. Gosh, you know. So you are a wealth of knowledge. What would you like to do? Do you have any questions for Councillor
Yes, I
Rose?
have. I've got a question for, good morning, Councillor Rose. Good morning, Clement. Sorry if they say Clements, because that's all the name that was introduced to me just now. And I don't know who wished to take the question. I'm a resident of Wandsey Street, which is next door to Browning Street. My first issue is not so much with what goes on in Browning Street or any of the other streets, it's the issue of Wandsey Street. So, Clement, you introduce yourself as a project manager and you're here to listen. So I'd like to borrow your ears.
Okay.
Okay? Right. Now.
We're listening.
Okay. What happened in Wandsey Street, if you're familiar with the street, you know now the road has been turned round from Brandon Street, and it's no through road. It's two different stories to this, because all the traffic from all the other streets that can't get to Walworth Road is coming through to Wandsey Street, not getting anywhere, and has to return back the way they came. But that's not the reason why I'm calling in. Right. We've got a drop curb. Councillor Seaton or Martin, you've got a photograph that I've sent you about the drop curb, and you know where it is. It's outside 62 Wandsey Street. It was put there between Southwark Council and the developers' land lease. There's one on the right and one on the left, and they're a pair. And they're supposed to look alike, so that's the reason why they make them the way they have. When they were put there as residents, we made it known then that it was not safe. But who were we? You know, nobody taking a notice of us. A couple of people did in the council, but told us it had to be done the size it is to match the one on the other side of the road, like a pair. Let's move forward. What's been happening now, we've got more traffic in Wandsey Street now than we did then, and we've got a bend, and that council can show you the photos of what I took to show you. The bend between Brandon Street and Wandsey Street, we cannot see the traffic coming round the bend when there's vans parked near that drop curb. So what people have to do is go out in halfway in the middle of the road and be like lollipop men or women to direct their children to cross the road. Now, for instance, yesterday, I actually saw a man left his wife and child on the drop curb, and he stood in the rest of the road and guarded them across the road. Now, the reason I'm telling you this, when someone gets injured or killed, the council cannot say they didn't know, because you've always known. And for Clement, If you choose to come to Wandsworth Street, I would personally give you a guided tour to show you what the situation is. That's the bit.
So that's one observation, Elder Norma, and we're grateful for that observation. I'm not sure if Clem is able to respond straight away because he needs to see it for himself. But what you're identifying is a blind bend between that from Brandon Street into Wandsworth Street, and what I think you're saying is that that needs to be looked at. Okay, I think that's
now,
the first point. Yeah.
But
and the
you
second point
suggested,
is,
councillor, that you could put one of these, what do you call them, sleepers or whatever. They don't work because if your drivers go over them and then speed.
Sleeping policeman. I see. Right.
No, the idea is to make the drop curb smaller, the width of a car.
Okay.
Normally, if you're going to cross a road that's got no crossing and you go between two cars, you can actually see what left or right. Mm-hmm. But if it's out in the road, you have to go out in the road and then go in the road to see what's coming. So if the curb is made smaller, because it's probably needed, but not the size it is. That's what we were trying to tell you from. So I'm saying if Clemens wants to come, I'll show him and let him stand in. I'll send you a photo, Martin, of a car. The driver did see me because I was standing there for quite a while. And I took a photo of showing you what would happen if the driver didn't see me or I didn't see him and I stepped out.
Understood.
In this case, the driver did see me. Because I saw him.
If I may then, I don't know, so we've taken note of that particular observation. Okay. Do you have a question on the wider scheme, low emission neighbourhood schemes?
Right. Yes, I have. It's also, you said make more space on the pavement for social distancing. Well, I don't think you've been walking down Walworth Road because I've just spoken to two neighbours before I came on about the shopkeepers who've got their ware on the pavement. Then you're outside a bus stop. You try getting past a full bus stop of people buying their chicken or whatever they're buying, and you try getting past. Where's the social distancing in that?
Okay.
So if you're going to say you're blocking the roads or you're doing all these things in the road for social distancing, look on the shops on Walworth Road that are taking up the pavement that people have to go past. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things you need to do.
Is there a particular section of Walworth Road?
Yes, I can give you one of them exactly. It's the bus stop by Marks and Spencer's.
Okay.
Before you get to Marks, that shop there. Okay. And I can give you a bit of history of that. That bus stop originally wasn't there. Mm-hmm. That bus stop was outside where the Walworth Road, where the KFC is, where the is it the P5 bus stop?
Yeah.
That's where they were. All those bus stops were there. Mm-hmm. And they were moved by other administration after complaint from residents that people couldn't go past because the chemist was there. You couldn't get back. There were too many people who don't live in Southwark, in Walworth, but getting the bus to go home. So they had the bus stop moved to where it is now, near Marks and Spencer. That's how that bus stop come to be there. Originally, it wasn't there.
Just to be clear, so what you're referring to is relocation of the bus stop, but in a location where the shop immediately opposite has got their wares that extends out onto the paving area and thereby restricting pedestrian throughput. Right. Okay.
Yes, right. But you've got two choices there. You can either let the shopkeeper keep their wares in the shops.
Yeah.
Or move the bus stop because otherwise you can't get people to go through. And the third bit was, talking about also the emissions. Uh-huh. After the people all filling in the survey to saying, we shouldn't have cars, or we should get rid of cars, or we should have electric cars. I'm sure they're packing their suitcase right now to go to fly off somewhere. These same people who saying, they're worried about emission. Why are they flying? You should only fly in emergency. You don't have to go abroad. You can go to Brighton and Southend like you did before. And also, why are we buying meat from Australia when they've got British
We're not
farmers?
going to go to that now.
No. It's about emission.
Okay.
It's about emission. It says it here.
I hear you. We're not going to go into that now, but we are focused on the streets and the neighbourhood in Walworth. So let's keep it to that for the moment.
Okay, all right, okay.
You made a series of very interesting points. Just hold on there. I wonder if either Clement or Catherine wishes to respond to any points you've made so far. Who wishes to go first?
I'm happy to sort of work backwards and let Clement pick up some of the technical points on that. But Norma's exactly right about some of the big picture stuff, about the impact of aviation and some of the big choices, the political choices that governments can only make in the sense of what we can do around where we get our food from, how that arrives and is sent to us, and also, as she rightly points out, the impact of aviation industry and some of those big things. And what I would say is that for many people, obviously, the vast majority of people in Walworth very rarely fly more than once a year, and often that's in relation to visiting family. If they've got dual heritage, they may have family and relatives, and they want to sort of reconnect. And especially after the pandemic, I wouldn't condone anyone that felt the need to go back and visit people they'd not seen for upwards of 2 years. But she's right. The level of sort of frequent flying, and there are calls for taxes in relation to frequent flyers, and to levy more charges and to get people to pay. But we've all learned, as we're doing it this morning, that there are numbers of different ways now as a result of the pandemic that we can communicate. So we have callers from across the Southeast London, and there's no technical restriction onto having listeners from other parts of the world take part in this very local conversation. So I think that's the challenge. But what we can do as a community is make incremental changes outside your own front door, Norma, along the street that you live in, and the ward that Martin represents, and then the borough that we're all working to try and improve. So if we set that example, and if we build that trust with people locally about that level of change, we can press national politicians to do more. And I think that's what we have to do, is sort of lead by local example. And in terms of it sounds to me as though there's a level of enforcement, and you're quite right to point out that initially, at the height of the pandemic, and before the vaccination had rolled out to the extent it was, social distancing was fundamental, and there was a lot of individual concern and anxiety where people really felt the need to wear a mask and to keep their distance, but access the shops and the services they needed. And a lot of the stuff that we put in place is about exactly that in relation to the public health piece, and also that confidence about riding on the bus and transport network, which for many months we had to prioritise for key workers and ensuring that they could travel safely as well. But now we're going through a period of transition and return to normality. So it's getting that balance right, allowing people that still feel as though they need to have enough distance as they go out to feel safe for their own level of vulnerability. Despite being double vaccinated, still feeling as though they need to be cautious, and we all understand that. And then allowing businesses to trade and return back to normal. So the furloughing and the business support schemes are being tapered off. Businesses and their staff are desperate to return to work, desperate to get the customers in the sense of feeling as though they're contributing again to where they live and work in a meaningful way. And we've relaxed rules around tables and chairs to allow people to sit outside, because again, customers feel more confident about that, and the businesses can get more trade. But there's a balance to be struck, because as you rightly say, we can't all take up the same space outside pavements and shops. So we need to get it right. So I think there's a couple of local enforcement issues there. I don't like the sound of residents having to step between cars to see traffic. So I think there's more we can do around the drop curb and looking at the visual sight lines. And I think we need to sort of go down and explore that further. But you're telling us about it now, Norma, and you're feeding it into the review. And now with the review, we get the chance to make changes on a scale and at a time scale that we've not previously been able to do. So now is the time to try and resolve that once and for all as part of this. And then the other points you make again around the air quality piece are really valuable, and we'll pick all that up. And I hope that you do participate in the survey, attend the meetings if you can, or pop along to one of the street stalls next Saturday and say hello to the team.
Thank you. And Clement, you can comment.
Yeah. So I'll pick up the invitation. Norma, I'll arrange to meet you, and then we can see how we can address the problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope that is again another purpose of the show, Norma, was exactly this type of interaction between yourself and officers and councillors who have responsibility, in this case, for our environment. Such an important piece of work, isn't it, Norma? You know, and you need to encourage our neighbours to do the same. Huh? Agreed?
Okay, will do.
Thank you so much. I'll speak to you after the show. Speak to you after the show.
Okay, thank you.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for that call. If I can hand over back to Lady Chelsea, I know she has a question or two. Or in fact, before we do that, I'm going to admit another caller. Let's take this caller straight away. I think that we want to keep him waiting. Good morning, caller, with number ending 3764.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can I ask you first, would you just introduce yourself and please ask your question?
Hi, my name is Patrick. I drive a van, and I've recently received a letter saying that my van's not ULEZ, but my van was bought in 2015. What I want to know is, what is the council or the government going to do for people like myself to support us in getting a new van, basically?
It's a good question. I'll hand over to Councillor Rose, who's indicating.
So thank you. It's a really pertinent question. So I don't know if you're aware, Martin, I think Patrick, sorry, that you can apply for a grant of up to £2,000 in towards the cost of a new vehicle if your current vehicle isn't ULEZ compliant, and we can also assist you, either signpost you to the TfL or the London Assembly site where you can access that grant, and we can also talk to you if you're a local business in and around the area, if you want to explore low emission vehicles, or if you want deliveries to be done by cargo bike or any part of your business delivery or your business model that we could talk to you about. So there are some really exciting pilot schemes up by the London Bridge team, who are supporting local businesses and traders and skilled craftspeople and such as gardeners, electricians and other sort of tradespeople, to think about other ways that they can get around. So they may drive into an area where they've got a customer base, but once they're there, they could use a cargo bike to nip around with a basic toolkit or whatever it is that they use to do their job, and make that last few kilometers more environmentally friendly, more sustainable, and hopefully sort of healthier and better for you as a business owner as well, rather than being stuck in your van all day. But I understand fundamentally that it's a critical part of your trade, of your identity, your ability to work and to feed and support your family. So there are schemes to help you convert your van. We'll if you give us your details, or let Martin's team know the details, I'll either contact your home borough if you don't live in Southwark, or if you do live in Southwark, we'll put you in contact with the various officers that can identify the business support that we can provide for you.
Thank you.
That was really interesting. There's a couple more bits to that thread. One is that that £2,000 probably means I've got to pay it back. Second one is, I don't know, about 2000, I can't remember the exact year, but the government said it was fine to buy diesel. You know, I bought a new vehicle because of that reason. Now it sounds like I have to pay out more money to buy another vehicle with very little support. £2,000 vehicles normally cost in the region of £15,000 to £20,000. So even though you've given me all this stuff, I still feel like I've been hoodwinked in a way to buy something, only to have to go and buy it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And really disappointing from the government, from our local leaders, to be quite honest with you.
All right, we've got that. Thank you. Councillor Rose, do you want to respond?
Yeah, just I completely empathise if you made a decision that you thought was informed about buying a car. I think there are measures and schemes to offset that, either a responsibility of the vehicle manufacturer, and I know some vehicle manufacturers are doing some form of either remediation or I don't know it's compensation, but it's not, you're not alone, Patrick, in that dilemma, and that's something that we're aware of. So I understand it, up to £2,000 is a grant, not a loan, so you wouldn't need to pay it back. And as I say, without knowing the particular requirements I couldn't say specifically, that what we can do, but if you let us know what your situation is, we can work our way through what might be available to you and what options for your own business might be best. But yeah, you're right. But those decisions around ULEZ were made at sort of a strategic London level. I think there are real benefits overall, but it's a transition, isn't it? It's a change, and we need to sort of support people.
Who are supporting the city, though. I mean, you have to support the traders. I'm an electrician, so in order for me to go to work, I need my van.
Yeah.
So I would be driving into ULEZ. It comes in October 25th. From that point onwards, it cost me £12.50 or more per day just to do a job.
Yeah.
Plus all the other things that I pay for.
I understand. I complete sympathy in them.
Can I just ask you, forgive me, Catherine, can I just ask you to hold on there for a moment, please? I want to come back to you, caller with number ending 3764. Just hold on there. I just want to take these other callers come in. I don't want to keep them waiting. Caller with number ending 7773. Good morning to you. Can I just ask you just to introduce yourself and put your question to us, please?
Hi, my name is Lyndon. Good morning,
good morning to you.
The panel. Good morning. Yes, just a couple of comments basically about this sort of greening environmental schemes, where the roads have been blocked off and some of the effects of that. I'm a local resident, just living close to Brandon Street. Been in the area for almost 25 years. I have children attending local schools. I drive, I walk, I cycle around the area. I work in the health and well-being industry, and I'm a psychotherapist. I understand the need to think and prepare and move forward in terms of the importance of improving local people's health and well-being, especially for our younger generations, with all the information we're seeing coming about now with the effects of pollution. With the road closures, the local side road closures, especially off the Walworth Road. Again, I understand that what you're trying to achieve, but I'm just wondering the implementation of what you've actually put in place, how effective it is. I hear you've got data that's telling you that the level of pollution in those side roads have dropped, which it would, because there are no longer any cars or the same volume of cars passing through. But what I do notice is that Kennington Park Road, Walworth Road, Old Kent Road, Rodney Road, all those roads throughout the day, pretty much every day, and on weekends, level of traffic has severely increased. With that comes, and when you notice the increase of not only the amount of traffic, but the movement of traffic. So you've got a lot more cars on the road, on those roads. You've got a lot more cars starting and stopping, crawling along, spending more time on those roads. So obviously the level of pollution that they're putting out is going to increase. Now,
forgive me, Lyndon, because there's a lot in there. Can I just ask, first of all, get a response to what you've said in regards to moving traffic onto the major roads and its impact on those roads? And I'd be interested to hear from both Councillor Rose and Clement, what are the stats telling us that in terms of the impact upon these local roads? I think I heard something different from what you're describing, but maybe Councillor Rose wants to initially respond.
Yeah, well, that's exactly why we're doing detailed monitoring and evaluation. So we've got a network of monitoring points within the defined Walworth area, and then on the sort of the surrounding roads that frame the area. And Clement will be coming with a bit more detail. But the purpose of the scheme is not to move traffic, but to reduce it overall. And we are seeing from the data that we've got that the overall levels of traffic have reduced by, I think, currently around 15%. Though Clement might come in with more detail, but you're right to identify, and we want to understand more specifically where we've seen different changes in traffic patterns, and you're right also to identify that it's not just the number of vehicles, but the flow of vehicles, and the issues arise by, as you say, congestion. So that's really important, not only to the people who are in those vehicles in on those roads, but also more critically, or really, is the impact on the bus network. So if people are to get confident in returning to buses and the return to work and normal life, we've got to ensure that our bus network operates as well as we can, and we can't do that if you say on those key bus routes traffic seems to be stalled. Now, obviously, we see a wide variation in traffic patterns because of the lockdown, because of the different stages of lockdown, and it's taken much longer and been repeated in a way that we couldn't have anticipated 18 months ago. So that's why we've got this detailed network of monitoring and data collection, and where we do identify areas where traffic patterns are out of sync with the rest of London or out of sync with neighbouring streets, we're following up on that, and we can make amendments and changes. But Clement might be able to provide you with a bit more detail on that and the level and quality of data that we're collecting. I don't know if you wanted to come in to add to that, Clement.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. So one thing we are noticing is that it's not just in Southwark. In London, we're seeing that as the recovery stage picks up, traffic is spiking everywhere. Just between May and June, on the TfL road, traffic went up by over 7%. So we're seeing a sharp increase in traffic as the recovery period takes place. And that is why it's important that this whole encouragement for people to change their pattern of travel. It's not going to take 6 months to a year to really work. It will take a longer period of time to get the message across for people to be able to pick up active travel. So yes, you are definitely right. There may be occasions where traffic may be displaced onto some of the main roads, but with time, as we make the main roads also safer for cycling, walking, then people will gradually make changes. But we are monitoring these main roads, and we'll be looking at additional measures on the main roads to make active travel much safer.
The other final point, sorry, is to say that obviously with lockdown, a lot of maintenance and utility work has been stalled or delayed, and often what we're also finding is that lots of companies, be they utility companies, are now engaging in a program of repairs and maintenance. So we're also seeing that return of that ongoing sort of maintenance pattern that can impact traffic, and it's useful to bear that in mind, is that when we return to normal, we can also see a return to an increase in construction temporarily on certain sites that can influence traffic, and also the utility and maintenance. So all the things we weren't able to do during the pandemic, we're now trying to get out there and sort out. So that also has a bearing. But
thank you, Councillor Rose. Thank you. I'm just conscious of time. We seem to have quite a few callers here. Very quickly.
Sorry, Mark. If I come back.
Thank you, Lyndon. Thank you, Lyndon.
Sorry, very quickly. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing there is that number one, you need to change people's behaviour. Okay, and with that, I want the question I would ask would be that the pattern of behaviour is usually or the focus of the pattern of behaviour is determined by the need. So as the previous caller said, who's a tradesperson, the needs are they need to be able to move through these areas in order to do their daily work. And as you just mentioned there, that a lot of utility work and other work that council and other sort of bodies need to be doing.
I encourage you, please, Lyndon, for a question. We're limited for time now. I'm really sorry.
Okay, so the question is that if During the lockdown, we've noticed increase of build-up of traffic, pollution levels on the main roads.
Yeah.
How is the scheme that you're putting in place going to help those walking down those streets, living close on those streets that pollution is building up? How's it going to help them?
Okay. That's your question. Now, before Councillor Rose responds to that, I'm just going to take a question from the other caller who just called in on 6676. Caller 6676. Good morning to you.
Yes. Hello.
Good morning to you there. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so
Introduce
much
yourself
for
and pose
taking
your
my
question.
call. Yes, it seems that indeed we've got lots of road closures around, and it is getting difficult to get to our local supermarkets, etc. And I think really and truly the locals are not benefiting from that, in all honesty. Rather, we've got more cafes opening out. I think something needs to be looked at in regards to that, because the pavements are quite congested. Yes?
Okay. Hold that point there, okay, because yours is very similar to Lyndon's. And I wonder if I could be so bold to introduce the last caller, I think, for today, because it's nearly 1:45, with number ending 8378. What is your question? Can you first of all introduce yourself and pose your question?
Good morning, my brother, Motivator. This is Chief Pacumberby.
Oh, good morning, my Chief. Good morning. Chief Pacumberby is actually the founder of the Galaxy Radio. Good morning, sir.
Yes, my brother, and good morning to your panel. Very interesting program, and I think you need to do this again.
Okay.
I would like to inform the councillor that you've got, representative. I'm a dust cart driver, so I work for the council in cooperation with Viola. And what I find is very hard to service some of these roads. And as a driver, I find it very difficult because some of the road that has been blocked off, there's no true road, and I have to reverse my truck to service these roads. And I think this is terribly wrong for the system that if the road cannot be serviced, then the residents complaining, how do we go around this? Then you've got some of the road that has been blocked off. Yes, we have got keys that we can go through some of the blockage, but they've put the blockage so close to the corner, to the curb, that we can't even drive into them. If we should drive into them, we're going to knock them down. And these are the things that has not been looked at properly. I would like to know what is going to be done about this.
Okay. Can I hold that question? So I'll now put over to the panel, Councillor Rose and Paul Clement. Okay.
I'll start off again. I'll try and work backwards if that's all right. Well, if you're talking about rounds within Southwark, let us know via your crew or give your details to Martin. We do engage with all the stakeholders. So we talked about the emergency services, ambulance, and the police, but we do talk to other parts of the council, and refuse is always taken into consideration. But if we're not getting it right and we're impeding on the quality of the service and the collection, then we need to know about that, and we'll work to resolve it. It's probably not an issue unique to Southwark, but we'll try and in Southwark we'll be focused on addressing it. So it's really good to hear, and I would actually, if you are a crew or you know crews that work in Southwark regularly, get them to participate, or we'll make direct contact.
And this is my job. This is my job, and so I'm participating by telling you. For example, you've got Roy Lane, you've got part of Shumut Road that I have to reverse into Shumut Road. There's no way to turn around at the bottom of Shumut Road. It's a one-way street, so you've got to reverse into it. Roy Lane is totally blocked off, so
Chief,
we can't go through.
Hello.
Yes,
Chief, yes. I do agree with you. Sorry, this is Michelle. I do agree with you in what you are saying. It's become very problematic. And I think, in all honesty, things are springing up whereby the community are not being informed correctly or asked their opinion. We have many tenants and residents associations as well as tenants.
Hold on. I need to manage this now, of course. I'm just conscious that we're almost running out of time. Usually happens at the end of the show, don't you worry. But you both made key points, and I know that this is being recorded and colleagues are hearing you. So you've heard the initial response from Councillor Rose in this regard. I've got both your details, so I will make sure that you both respond to the consultation. Okay, so that's really important. But Councillor Rose or Clement, you may want to add to what's been said so far.
Yeah, I just wanted to Lyndon's point about our main roads are residential roads. People live on our main roads, and what we're doing is providing and informing people about relative issues such as air quality and flow. So understanding that the data in relation to all roads, principal roads, and quieter residential streets is really important. So overall air quality in London is improving, and issues such as ULEZ and lower emission vehicles and lower emission buses all help to do that. But this is why it's important that your community and the people that are phoning today and are listening take part in the consultation. We'll only know exactly what's going on main roads if you tell us about it, to help us supplement and inform the data we're collecting. So that the data will give us a firm foundation, but local people with their lived experience gives us the context, and we can make informed decisions that way.
Well, you need to inform us when these consultations are taking place.
Well, I don't know if you were listening earlier on, but we've got a session today, and we've got pop-up stalls in Walworth.
Lovely.
And we've got your details where you can come along, speak, do it on paper.
You've got a session today. How many people have you informed about this session?
20,000 people were sent a newsletter.
This is a good issue. Why you're not getting the correct information through. People are not being informed. They are the ones living within the borough.
So hold on, Michelle. If I may just pick up that point, because Councillor Rose just confirmed 20,000 notifications have been sent out. And it is an interesting observation. 20,000 is a significant number. I don't know if that's 20,000 in the Walworth area or across in the Walworth area. It'll be because there's about 5,000 residents in a ward. You 3 or 4 wards and businesses. So in Dulwich we sent out over 19,500 newsletters. Wow. Walworth has just got around 20,000 as well. Everyone posted through letterboxes. This will continue. You'll get more than one. You got pre-registration, and where you're allowed to register your interest to be informed by email, or you've seen the sleeves on the lampposts with the barcodes that you can just put your camera up to, scan, and get a direct link through to the site. We're going to have paper copies available on the pop-up stalls outside key points along Walworth Road. We've got the online meeting today. We've got the pop-up stalls next Saturday. We've got another evening meeting on the 1st of September. We're going into schools. You're taking part in a radio phone-in. You got directly through to your ward councillor, your lead project manager, and the cabinet member making all the decisions. So I hope you feel as though you can. Okay.
That sounds great. It seems that you so-called put a lot of notices out.
If I may, Councillor Rose, if I may, just interject there. I'll give an example. There was one Langham Street. Once that was closed, there was a huge outpour from local residents. It was a big meeting, and I believe someone from council came along. Mr. Seaton.
You see Larkham Street?
So Larkham Street. That's it. Larkham Street. Yeah. Where St John's Walworth School was. There was a big consultation, and a lot of local people got involved and aired their feelings and thoughts. The process was gone through, but nothing was done. And this perhaps...
if I may, Lyndon, hold on a moment, please, hold on. I believe that either Councillor Rose or Clement might be able to respond in regards to Larkham Street, what is being proposed to happen there. Which of them, Clement, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so I was at that meeting you just mentioned, and we have been listening. We're going to make changes there soon where we will allow access for emergency services and blue badge holders to go through. So we are going to change the existing closure to access for emergency services and blue badge holders. So we are listening and we are making changes. Please, you can be assured of
that. That's fantastic. But unfortunately,
Lyndon, hold on.
Sorry, Mike, if I may just finish very quickly on this point.
Very quickly.
Unfortunately for the school, because I'm a parent governor at St John's, my children went there. A lot of the parents that were having their children in the school were driving because they were living local. They've moved out, so they're still bringing their children to the area, but having to drive and drop them off. With the road closure, they were unable to do that. And the consequence of that was they moved their children to other schools. The knock-on effect was the school doubles went down, and now the school has closed. So again, looking at great these schemes, try and get them right, but it's looking at the overall effect or knock-on effect and how that's affecting the community as a result of these. So
Okay.
it's something we need to really keep in and be mindful of.
Lyndon, we've got your point. Lyndon, sorry, we've got your point.
The motivator.
Hold on. Before Michelle, hold on a moment. Lyndon, we've got your point, and I've got to respond straight away. That
Okay, that's fine.
The reprioritisation of Larcombe Street was not a factor in the school closure. Okay, that part I can say with absolute certainty. I'm intimately involved and understand why that school was closed. But I want to thank you for that contribution, and I might invite you to the further meeting we're holding this afternoon. I'll send the details through to you later.
Unfortunately, I'm working, Martin.
I
understand. To 10, but I have to go and work now.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're grateful for your contribution. We've got to make sure that you do respond to the consultation. Your voice matters. I want to emphasize that. Your voice matters. You see behind me, our hands are up, indicating that we're making a decision. Your voice actually matters. So thank you, Linda, for taking time out to call us today. And Michelle?
Thank you very much. But I do think that we do need another probably call in with regards to this matter.
Okay.
Because there is a lot that needs to be taken on board, because it's all well and good you blocking off the roads, but it's local tenants and residents that are being affected. Absolutely. The main people we want to be affected, they're not bothered. Our pavements are being clogged up with lots of rubbish from the shops, etc. These things are not being looked at. Okay. They've increased their shop square footage by bringing more things out on the pavement, which is not big enough for that. Yes. Yeah? Yes. And we need to be aware of these things and do something about that, rather than penalising once more the local tenants and residents.
Okay. Michelle? Point taken. Again, this is the whole purpose of this show, to hear your feedback. I've heard the second or third time we might need to do it again, but we'll have to think about that. Again, thank you for your contribution to the show this morning. It's been extremely helpful, very, very helpful.
Well, it just goes to show, if quite a few people said we need to do it again, the motivator.
We will do it again.
There's a problem there that needs to be identified. Yeah. Where I can see that a majority of the people have not been consulted about where they live. Okay. Things have just happened.
Michelle, I'm limited for time. Michelle, I'm limited for time. And I hear you, we hear you, and we will respond. We will respond.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. And this, again, going back to our caller on 3764, you were the trader with a commercial vehicle. Did you want to make any sort of concluding points, Corder?
Yes, there was actually.
You've only got 1 minute though. 1 minute to do this, okay?
Very quickly, I would say there's winners and losers on this, and all that emphasise to the local government and our government is to look at the losers and see whether we can be compensated, i.e. like an electric vehicle, part exchange for my vehicle, and things like that would really, really work. And on that, Mr. Motivator, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you for your positive contribution. Very, very helpful, very helpful. And I will contact you during the week. I've got your details here, and we ensure that you will also respond to the consultation. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Right then, and let's go back, Lady Chelsea. That was something else, huh? There you are. Colleagues, friends, if I may say so, Councillor Rose, Clement, thank you for your contribution. Is there any sort of closing statement you want to make? We've only got only a handful of minutes left now.
I just wanted to thank everyone. Lady Chelsea is hung on in there and stuck with us throughout, and all the callers, and Clement and Rachel. The stalwarts of this, and this is only the first half of today. We're all going to meet again in another chat room later on to talk to residents. But I just wanted to make the point that it's really valuable that the dialogue we've had this morning, and we started off this morning saying that there's no one interested in what's going on, and no one really participates. And we talk about roads and highways, and look at the breadth and depth of issues that we've covered in terms of the local economy, the future we want for our children, supporting education, supporting well-being. I mean, it's all there, isn't it? So yes, I think it's been incredibly important, and what the community have said and the community that have phoned in is completely reflective, and there's so much that is common across the borough. And I just want to say that Walworth is unique and special in terms of its local context, but the issues that are impacting your community are the same ones everywhere else, and we're trying to work our hardest to sort of address them all. But I want to thank everyone for the contributions that they've made. A really informed and dynamic session. So thank you. You're not shy in coming forward, are you, really, at all?
Oh no, they never are. Thank you, Councillor Rose. And Clement.
Yeah. So I just want to assure people that we really want to listen and act. It's not just a tick box exercise. We really want to listen and act, and your voice is very important. So please get involved. Tell us how the schemes are affecting you, and then we want to work with you to make the area a greener, safer, and cleaner place for everyone to enjoy.
Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you both.
Good day.
Thank you.
We'll speak to you later. Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye.
Lady Chelsea. Well, there you go, huh? Who says we are a hard to reach community, huh?
Yeah. No, they came forward and, had their opinion, so it's good.
I mean, of course, we've got to make sure that young people's voices are heard as well. Yeah. Because ultimately, he says, this has all been done in your name, ultimately, because you are the ultimate beneficiaries, I'd be long gone, but you'll be here to enjoy it all,
Yeah.
You could argue that my own generation has been rather slow in responding to what is a clear and present danger, a pending crisis, climate change will affect the world economy, how we live in the world, causes water to rise, change the temperature range. We've affected our planet in ways which are not beneficial. So we need to mend it. And therefore, putting our head in the sand is not an option. We've got to respond. And our community is a voice. We've got to respond. And the decision makers, the practitioners are listening to us. Yeah? They respond. Well, I see a call is just coming in. We're now at 9:59. We've got less than a minute to go, so I cannot take your call. I'm really sorry, caller. You should have called earlier. So really but we will do this again. Lady Chelsea, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah. For being the voice of reason.
I'll try.
Good day, everybody.
Right.
Good day.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Well done, the African community. Well done, the black community. Well done. We are not hard to reach.